Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and typically we will be talking about a Star Trek episode on this, but we're in the middle of the movies. We finished the original series. This is going to be the third movie. This is Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, which we will start spoiler free. We'll give you a spoiler warning before we go into spoilers somewhere in the middle, and that's what we'll do. So we did the first two movies. You can find them quite easily in the playlist, or if you're in the audio feed, they came before this one, so
they're the last episodes.
Even easier. So, so it's interesting to get into this one. Obviously, spoiler free for this movie until we give you spoiler warning, but we do kind of have to mention how the second one ended, because this one is very serialized and it kind of just picks up almost immediately after the second movie.
Yeah, it opens with like the final scene.
Yeah, in a little box.
In a tiny little box that changes shape and it's really frustrating.
And it zooms in, then does the whole thing. And yeah, the basic premise is that the Genesis planet is going. That's this thing. There's the fake planet that was created through science, in the second film, and Spock's body's on there, and something weird may be happening. Not to mention the fact that Spock mind melded with McCoy before he died, sort of passing on his knowledge and experience and his soul essentially into McCoy, and Kirk might have to break the rules to maybe help his friend, and go against Starfleet Command in order to do so. Meanwhile, Christopher Lloyd's a Klingon, and he wants a hold of Genesis because he sees the destructive potential in a Genesis terraforming bomb. So
yeah, that about sums it up.
And that's the basic gist of the plot. So, interesting, of course, we both like the first movie. Obviously, we both like the second movie because everyone likes Wrath of Khan. So, you hadn't seen this before, so I am curious to ask you the question. Connor, did you enjoy Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock?
I am frustrated by this movie because I can see a version of this movie that I love. I can see a version of things in this movie that I can see being phenomenal. And instead it just becomes this other horrible thing.
Horrible thing?
At points, yeah.
Horrible thing. Interesting. It's just funny. I'd seen this before, but outside of like a couple of things at the start and the end, I couldn't remember anything about this movie before I watched it. So watching it again, and I was reminded that I quite like a lot of it, actually. There's certain elements that I think will work as well.
Yeah.
There's certain things I don't like about it. The core character stuff between Kirk and his like determination to help Spock, I like a lot.
That's good stuff. Yeah.
McCoy's inclusion that I like. All the main characters are actually really good. There's no one that I.
But yeah, basically the bit where it's the idea that Kirk has to kind of save Spock's soul, whether he believes in it or not. You know, the idea of Spock's final burial request. And the idea of Kirk having to fulfill that, because like that I love.
Yeah, it's great.
And then it's just the where it goes, and I'm just like, okay.
I feel this is a spoiler conversation you're avoiding.
No, just the way it all turns out, and it gets frustrating.
Yeah, so I mean, Christopher Lloyd's fun as a Klingon. I do feel like the Klingons are kind of the weaker element of the movie, though.
It kind of feel pointless.
They're kind of just there because the movie needs to have a villain that they can fight.
Yeah, do you know what really frustrates me about the Klingons?
Yes.
The way they just switch mid-conversation between Klingon and English.
When they're just Klingons and there's no reason for them to be speaking English.
Like, they'll be speaking Klingon, it's subtitled for like 3 sentences, and then they'll just reply in English.
It's weird. I don't know why they're doing that.
Pick one. If you tell me they're just speaking in English and we're just, we're hearing a translation, whatever, fine, I don't care. But you make an effort to speak in Klingon and give me subtitles and then just disregard it half of the time. And it just annoys me.
Yeah, flip-flops. I got no reason for it. It's weird.
No, it's worse than it just, being one or the other.
I mean, I think Christopher Lloyd has a bit of fun in the role. Like he's nice and charismatic and he does his thing. But them being there is just there because we need to have a villain. And Joe, no, I can't talk about this. Still spoilers, right?
They're mostly inconsequential, though, aren't they?
There's a thing I want to talk about in spoilers, right?
Okay.
I'm noting this down. About Klingons and spoilers.
Spoiler Klingon. Got
Remind me. Yeah, worth mentioning as well, Savik's back, although Kirstie Alley is not playing her. And I had forgotten that she was back in this but recast. And I actually looked it up. I was curious as to maybe why we did have a new actress. And it's conflicting stories. She claims that she was been offered...
Which she?
Sorry?
Which she?
What do you mean, which she? Kirstie Alley.
You said... Right, okay. You just said she claims. And I'm like, well, do you want about her or the new woman?
Why would the new woman be claiming anything?
Well, I don't know, but you can't just say she. Just name them.
Why would she have anything to do with why the original actress wasn't back? Nothing. There's no possible way, unless she actively sabotaged.
She might have done.
She didn't. Kirstie Alley claims that they were offering her less money than she got in the first or the second movie, and the were asking.
Shitty.
Right? Sorry?
I said that's a bit shitty.
Yeah. However, Leonard Nimoy, who directed this, by the way, has claimed that her agents, maybe not her specifically, but her agent was requesting a significant amount of money that was so big that it was more than what DeForest Kelley was getting for the movie, and was like multiples of what she would got in the last movie. So it's a bit of a he said, she said bit of a deal.
Do you know what's funny? Because I can believe either side. You know, like, oh, they're saying, oh, they wanted to pay me less. I can buy, given that she's in this movie significantly less than she was in the last one. So you're in it a lot less, you get paid less. That seems relatively fair to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's less of your time to shoot it, right? So if it's less time to shoot, it in theory is cheaper. That makes sense to me.
All of her stuff's fairly separate as well, so you could theoretically do all of her stuff in about 4 days.
Yeah.
Maybe a week. That push.
Yeah, compared to, you know, in the last movie where she's there with everyone most of the time.
Yeah, she's kind of around, with the main group all the time.
It's a significantly longer shoot for the actress.
But because of that, I mean, she does feel like a fake Savick. You're wrong. Your face is wrong. I can't accept this. It's weird. Yeah. It's not this actress's fault. It's not this movie's fault even. It's just typically when you recast a role like this, it's just kind of annoying, and you just kind of it feels off.
It is, yeah. And the actress doesn't do anything wrong. She's fine.
She's fine. And Kirk's son's back, David. He's back here because
he is.
Him and Savick are kind of the scientists who are going down to investigate this Genesis planet. Which we hear like brief mumblings that there's a big political intrigue about this place now that it exists, but it doesn't really go anywhere with that. Other than the fact that there's Klingons trying to steal it, I guess. But...
It's a little disappointing because they were like, "Oh no, it's hush hush. You can't even talk about it."
Yeah.
I wanted to see some of that stuff. I thought that's where we were going, and then it just didn't really matter in the end.
No. But no, I like that not only does Kirk have to decide against, because Sarek comes and sees him, and it's the same actor from the original series, which was cool. And he comes to see him and kind of sets up some of the Spock stuff, and he makes the choice to go against orders and try, because the Enterprise is being decommissioned, no one's going to fix it. Scotty's like, oh, I'm going to fix this damn thing. He's like, no, you're going to go to the news ship, you're going to the Excelsior, because that's our new baby, and this hunk of junk's 20 years old, we don't want anything to do with it. But correct me if I'm wrong, but actual big ships, like big Navy ships, they typically are in use for longer than a couple of decades, right?
I think so, yeah. If they're well maintained.
I feel like they're the sort of thing that you do use for a long time. You get a lot of use out of it, unless it gets sunk, of course.
I would have thought so.
But yeah, because I was thinking 20 years doesn't seem that long a time. Especially, I'd only assume this would get longer if we were started talking about spaceships.
You'd think they were well maintained, right?
Yeah, because they're so big and expensive that they'd want to just make sure that they're getting
their
money's worth.
In general, most modern vessels would have a planned life service of between 25 and 30 years.
Oh, I guess it's not that far off.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I mean, that's not going for necessarily just military ships, but I mean, imagine it's not that different.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So I'll stand corrected then. Just seemed a bit off. Yeah. But so that's happening. So they steal the Enterprise. That's a big part of the plot. But I love that the entire crew, like the main characters, right? They're like, no, we're in this, sir. We don't care that we're kind of committing treason. Let's just
we'll put together a bit of a heist and steal it.
Yeah, I love all that stuff.
That's fun.
I have a lot of fun with that. The character emotion of trying to find Spock, of Kirk's dedication of finding Spock. The stuff at the start when he's doing the captain's log and it's very remorse. It's very like, something really bad's happened. You know, all the because I remember the last movie, it was all a bunch of trainees who were like manning the ship. Is all the trainees have gone. It's like all the children have left the house, but Spock's also gone. It's like there's a gaping wound, and you know he's really going for it. And a lot of moments that I liked is at one point he asked Chekhov to go to the science station, and Chekhov just kind of hesitates.
He does. He takes a moment where it's like, oh.
Yeah, I feel weird doing this, and I like that. I like those little things.
Do you know what some of the best stuff in the movie is?
Oh yeah,
is McCoy doing his Spock moments.
Because that's part of the movie, that he kind of has Spock's aura inside him. So every so often he'll say something that Spock would say, or he'll do something that Spock would do. In fact, at one point he tries to do the grip. He tries to knock someone out. It doesn't work.
One of my favorite moments is he just reads something off a screen, or up on the deck, exactly, and you don't see him do it. You hear it off screen. It sounds exactly like Spock.
To the point
and
where
everyone turns round.
I'm almost convinced they put Leonard Nimoy's voice like over him.
Over it. I think they might have done.
Just to make it really sound like it was him, so that we got the same effect as the characters when they all turned around, and it was just him. It
sounded so much like him, didn't it? I think it was a blend of the two voices, to be honest.
So, yeah, no, I like all that stuff, and there's some great emotional moments at the end, because I think the final few scenes I really like as well. The actual predicament against the Klingons once they get to the planet, and the Klingons have got some hostages and stuff like that, and this, that stuff just kind of feels like it's here because it's meant to be a movie with an action plot kind of here as well. And that's definitely the weakest element of the movie. It's not terrible. Like I say, I have enough fun with Christopher Lloyd being a Klingon that it's like, okay, I'm kind of into the hamminess of it a little bit, but it's definitely not up to the standard that the movie should have or could have.
Definitely not. And I really don't like the design of their ship.
Oh, the Bird of Prey?
Yeah. I think it's the garish green.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I just don't like it.
Oh. Christopher Lloyd's got this Klingon dog, and it's very scary. So scary that when he asks another Klingon to feed it, the other Klingon looks terrified. It's actually like a really almost out of place joke where there's no other humor with the Klingons the whole movie, but there's this little moment where this Klingon's afraid to feed this dog. It's that moment where he just sort of looks at the camera and goes gulp. That's that moment.
Yeah.
But it was funny. It made me laugh. So.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
Fair play. I love how they come up with an excuse. Does it? Oh, Scotty, you've made everything automated, so we don't have to have a crew of 500 like we always say we do. We can
convenient, isn't it?
We can just do it from the bridge with the 5 of us. Nice.
Yeah.
Poor Uhura gets the shaft. She's left behind.
Yeah, but she's essential in getting them out.
She's part of the plan. She's an essential part of them getting off the station, but it's still kind of like, oh, she's left out all the action for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, someone's got to beam you out, though, haven't they?
I suppose. But yeah, so no, I would say I like it quite a bit. I think watching it again, I think it's the weakest of the 3 so far. But the best stuff in any of these movies has been the character themes and bonds and the relationships and how they've grown since the original show and building upon what the original show had for them. And I think this does all that just as well.
That's fair. I like large portions of it. However, there are significant elements that I actively hate that really ruin my enjoyment overall.
We'll probably get to that in spoilers because
we will. Yes,
I feel like they're more spoilery.
They are, yeah.
Music. Yeah, James Horner's back with the music.
It's pretty good. A couple of themes that felt a bit out of place here or there. I mean, most part it's kind of standard fare.
Yeah, you used some themes from the last movie, of course, a little bit.
Yeah,
kind of built upon them. It was fine. The effects are good. Oh, I did notice a weird thing actually.
Go
on. With the ships in space, not all the time, but there was a couple of scenes where there was like almost like a grey box, like around some of the ships, just very transparent, of course, but just a little. Like, I could sort of make it out, and it was kind of like changing its size and moving around the ship as it was flying through the space, and it was almost like it was when it was flying towards the station early on. And
like
the station,
a tracking box sort of thing.
Yeah, like a tracking box, yeah. That's what it kind of looked like.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's weird. It's almost like... I wonder if just being in HD now and watching the Blu-ray, this is something they got away with before, but now it's showing up the trick
You
a
just
little
kind of
bit.
see it, yeah.
And it's like, I could have probably cleaned that, because it wouldn't be that hard to clean up now, just to put it into like a effects program and just quickly
No, I mean,
dodge it out.
obviously we just got through the original series. We saw what a phenomenal job they did cleaning those up.
I mean, it's notable though that this, because the first two movies didn't have this problem, and it was only a couple of scenes in this, but I didn't notice it once or twice, and I was just like, I feel like, and I think in that scene it was because there was two different things in the space, so they had to have like sort of tracking between them, maybe.
Yeah, it could be.
Or something like that, because maybe they were filmed separately and then put in the same shot later.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But I noticed it, so I thought I'll mention it. It's a thing. Yeah, main cast are good again, as they have been. I mean, but at this point, they know the characters so well that
They just slip right back in, don't they?
yeah. It's very difficult to find fault in that space. Yeah, and I think another big.
I was gonna say, just on the main characters, it's fun seeing them be a bit more, rebellious. Even though they obviously they often actively disregarded orders here or there, but this is outright no, we're just stealing the ship.
Oh yeah, and it's very playful, which I really like. But I think from a character sort of, from a drama perspective, the fact that, because Kirk obviously has always picked the ship over a family, right? He's always picked, instead of finding a wife and settling down, he's always picked the duty. So for him to risk that and give it all up for the sake of Spock, because as he puts it at one point in the film, yeah, he didn't have to do this, but he needed to. Otherwise, his soul, because obviously it comes at great cost. We'll talk about that in spoilers. But to save his own soul, he'd have lost that if he hadn't done this for his friend. So the fact that he's willing to risk all that to save Spock, it's kind of adds weight to it. It's like, okay, so here's the drama element to it that makes it kind of work and gives it the emotion that makes it work for the most part as a movie. Like you say, there's elements that maybe don't quite work, but I think the core character drama of it.
Yeah, I can't argue with that side of it.
And I like that stuff. So no, it's very good. Yeah, so I guess we'll give the spoiler warning, and we'll dive into some of the spoilers. I guess we'll start with the negatives. Would this be to do with rapidly aging Spock, who's a boy at first?
It would be, yes.
Yes.
Kid Spock is utterly atrocious. I hate everything on this side of the plot.
It's not that good. I'll agree with that.
It just, for me, it undermines the whole thing of, Kirk just like trying to, like I said, it's saving his friend's soul. Whether or not he believes doesn't actually matter. It's this respect for what his friend's wishes were, right? And then it's just, but the kid's actually kind of just there.
Yeah,
it undermines it.
It doesn't ruin it for me for the most part, because he doesn't know that. It's not. It's quite late on in the movie before he finds this out. It is all just him doing this for the sake of the the theoretical soul.
Yeah.
And it has to happen to some extent, because that's how at the end of the movie we can transfer the soul from McCoy into Spock, right?
Yeah, I don't really like that either, to be honest.
I don't like the scene itself, the ritual itself, I should say. The scene afterwards when he's talking to them all, though, I like a lot.
It's a nice scene. It's one of these where I wish it didn't exist.
Well, that was the thing we said in the last movie, though, is that it's a shame they had to undo the death, right?
Yeah.
I think for us, there was no way that was never going to at least be a little bit of a shitty thing to do. It's like, we're going to undermine it by taking it out. To his credit, though, I didn't remember because I remembered watching Wrath of Khan a couple of weeks ago, and we had the death scene, and I noticed the moment where he went up to McCoy, and I was like, oh, they actually did put that in there. It almost felt like, okay, maybe they actually did have kind of a plan to how to bring him back. They intentionally put that in as a seed.
Yeah.
For where it was going to go. And I was like, okay, all right, fine. A space seed, if you will. So, but if we are bringing them back, and they are going to, we're always going to, right? That's just the sad truth of it.
Yeah.
The ritual's stupid. I don't like what they're wearing. I don't like the cloaks. But I do like the scene afterwards where he gets the first memory of, because he doesn't know who he is at first. He's kind of just, he turns around, he sees them. He looks at them all, and they're all kind of staring at him, and he starts like quoting the end of the last movie with Kirk, And he calls him Jim, and that's the sort of moment where they all smile, and Kirk, it's like a proper romance moment. It's like, oh, finally, it's like he just proposed. It's like, yes, I love you too, Spock. I was like, oh, this scene's kind of getting to me, and I kind of like Kirk's thing where he's like, why, Spock asks, why did you do this, and he's like, because sometimes the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many.
Wait, he doesn't even say sometimes, does he?
He doesn't. I think it's implied though.
No, but I thought that was a very notable touch to not say
sure.
Because for me, like I said, the implication to us, we just assume that's there. That's so obvious to say that, but the fact that he doesn't, kind of, it almost highlights the importance.
The importance of what?
Of doing it for the one in this case, right? It's not just sometimes. It's no. When it comes to this, it's always.
Sure.
If it's for the friend, it's not a sometimes.
I think Kirk knows it is sometimes, though. I think the point here is that in this moment, he's in the heat of it right now. He's in this moment where he was going to do this no matter what. Nothing was going to stop him. It was worth risking everything to try and do this, to try and help Spock. And that's what makes it work. And I think, because what he's really saying there, because obviously Spock's whole thing, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one, that's utterly logical. And what Kirk is responding with, no, it's sometimes if you really care about someone, then the needs of that one outweighs everything else. It's like a parent talking about their child, right? It's like, it doesn't matter. I'll protect my kid no matter what. I don't care if I have to kill 100, right? That's essentially what it is, and that's what makes it work. And it's a really sweet scene. So I feel like you're being extra cynical with it because you just don't like how it gets there, and that's fair. But
it's one of these where it kind of just undercuts the movie for me as a whole. The journey, a lot of it feels undermined by giving it this happy ending almost. For me, that's how it feels.
Yeah, but how do you?
You don't. It makes me feel like I wasted my time a little bit with the movie.
Well, how would you have liked it to end though? Knowing that Spock has to come back.
No, that's it. Exactly. I don't know how you do it without having Spock come back. But that is, I honestly think having Spock come back right at the end is maybe a problem. I get that's the end point, but I think the entire movie just leading up to that undercuts a lot of it for me. Whereas, I don't know, maybe if they know a bit earlier that he's alive and they're actively trying to say, maybe it doesn't undercut the entire movie. Because for me, Jim saving his soul, right? And that's all this emotional beats, but it feels weightless when it's at the end where it didn't really, he wasn't really saving his soul. He's there anyway. It's fine. He's alive. Whereas I think if he was actively trying to save him a bit more, I'd have less of a problem, weirdly, because I wouldn't feel like we spent so long on that for it to not really feel as it matters as much.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, like, if he didn't go to save his soul, they wouldn't have saved him at all. Like, he would be dead.
No, I get that.
Because they wouldn't have found him. So it did accomplish something. It did
accomplish it, but not. It didn't accomplish it intentionally, or alternatively, so if it was intentional, then it has an achievement, right?
What's funny to me is that I think I liked it more this time I watched it compared to the first time, and I think it's because the first time I probably had more of a problem with some of this than I do now. I think going in, knowing what it is, and just accepting it for what it is,
maybe
meant I could just enjoy what worked rather than what didn't. The Vulcan ritual I wasn't really keen on. Young Spock growing up is whatever. I feel like, Joe, it's funny, when I watched Wrath of Khan, I was convinced that David was going to die by the end, and he didn't. And I was like, okay, whatever. I misremembered that. And then when I started watching this, because I didn't remember that he came back, I didn't remember that he was in Search for Spock. So when I started, as soon as he's popped up in this, because at the start Kirk actually explains why he's not there. Kirk says, "Oh, him and Savick are aware." Like, oh yeah, that's how you write them out. Fine, whatever. And then it cut to him, and I'm like, "Oh, he's gonna be dead by the end of this."
Yeah, that was another thing that I thought it just felt a bit cheap. As to just, I didn't think you needed to. The point was to make Kirk care a bit more, right? It's like, oh, you killed my son, and it just like, I don't. Did we really need that?
It felt a bit random to me. It felt kind of out of nowhere. I think David's inclusion as a whole feels kind of weird in this movie. There's not really them going around the planet and then finding young Spock is definitely the weaker stuff in the film. And then it ultimately comes down to, okay, now they've got them as hostages. And they kill David so randomly as well. It's like, oh, we're going to kill one to prove we're serious, and they just kill him. It's like, and that's it. He's dead. They're like, okay. Not that I cared that much about him. But
Just
I think the problem
feels throwaway, doesn't it?
it feels throwaway. But the problem is that afterwards, Kirk. I mean, Shatner's acting when it happens is great, but afterwards when he's fighting, the bad guy, he's fighting Christopher Lloyd's character. It doesn't really feel like the emotion of like you killed my son is in that scene.
It feels like it's forgotten.
It feels like just a typical Star Trek fight.
Do you know what it feels like?
Mm-hmm.
It feels like when they shot this fight at the end, that wasn't in the script yet. They just went back and added that in afterwards.
Maybe, I don't know. Because at the start of the scene though, before they fight in the same sort of set, like he's already referenced as dead and he's already not there.
Yeah. I'm not saying that's what happened. That's how it feels.
It feels that way. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I can see it because it's one of those things. Is when it happened, I thought there was going to be more to it than just him going. Oh, and it's funny because in another movie, this could maybe work to show how random the villain is. Like if this is the Joker, right, and the whole point is that he could kill anyone at any point.
Sure.
And you take someone away randomly. That's kind of like the random nature of it. This doesn't feel like that though. This just feels like, oh well, he was interested in the last movie, so it'll mean something to kill him.
Yeah. I actively dislike everything with them and Youngs, but I wouldn't want any of that in the movie at all. Just the problem.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like their stuff. It hasn't ruined the movie for me. It seems to have done for you, but
I think it's because it's so frequent that we cut back to it. I mean, it's not huge chunks at a time, but it feels like every 10 minutes we're cutting back, checking in on them, and doing something else with them, and it always just interrupts the flow of the movie. When I get back to them, and I'm like, oh yeah, this shit's still going on. I'm sick of it, and it really ruined my enjoyment quite a lot.
They were fairly condensed for me. That I wasn't really that angry every time it cut to it because those scenes were definitely much shorter than all the other stuff.
They were, yeah. Like I said, they weren't that long individually. Yeah. It's just it was like clockwork where we cut back to them and have another one, and it felt like it was relatively often that we did that.
Yeah. No, it's definitely weaker. Everything with the main cast, though, I really like.
I do too.
It's kind of like when you have a kind of weirder plot on one of the episodes, but all the main character stuff is really good. And for me, that always trumps the whatever the plot element I don't like is.
That's fair.
And I think that's what's happened here in this case. I definitely liked it more this time than I did the first time I watched it, though. And I think it's because going in knowing all this growing up Spock stuff, even if I didn't remember it right away, but as soon as it started happening, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what this is. I remember all this now.
Maybe I'll enjoy it more next time I watch it.
I like that. I like the fun of them stealing the ship, and Scotty sabotaged the other ship because the other guys, the other captain on the Excelsior is like a bit of a dick, and he's like, how can we have a yellow alert when we're in dock? Oh, what's happening? Oh, after that Enterprise. Oh, we're going to put the tractor beam on them. They won't know what to hit them when we hit warp drive, and then obviously everything just shuts down because Scotty's been tampering.
Do you know what it was? It was the moment from Star Wars. When they try and hit, punch it, and it's just like, oh, no hyperdrive. It was the exact same moment where I could almost hear the whining sound from that movie where it fails. It's fine, but it wasn't the only time in this movie that I thought it reminded me more of a Star Wars movie. In terms of that whole section of the movie, with them, getting out and stealing the ship, it felt more Star Wars than Star Trek.
Okay.
It isn't necessarily a complaint. It felt different.
I just feels different because it was such a rebellious plot compared to normal.
No, that's fair. I think just the tone of it felt more like something I'd expect in Star Wars, but it's fine.
Also, I really liked the bit at the start where Scotty admits that he quadruples all of his estimates so that he looks like a miracle worker whenever he finishes something much quicker. Yeah.
It's a good plan.
I appreciated that. That was good.
Problem is, if I did that, I'd just procrastinate because I'm like, well, I got time.
Yes. Now he's a man who cares about his reputation, so he he goes
He'd
for
still
it.
have a good reputation. If he said, "Oh, it's going to take this long," and it took that long, he'd still have a good reputation.
But yeah, so no, I think yeah, David and Savik's stuff is definitely the weakest part. Um,
And
and
then just the Klingons as a whole.
yeah, but the Klingons are at least a little bit fun.
Sure, they're just they're fun enough. They just gotta feel pointless.
Yeah, you could happily cut them out, and the movie wouldn't really suffer for it. You'd have them get to the planet and then go looking for Spock, and then just have them like, oh, he's not in there. Wait, what? He got up? What? And then maybe just go and find him from there, and then the planet's starting to, because that's the other thing is the Genesis planet's going to explode.
Yeah.
It's unstable. The Genesis is a failure. It's not working.
Because David turns out is a bit of a shit.
Well, he's like his dad. He cheats.
Exactly.
He cheats and changes the rules, and putting some concoctions into the scientific mix, which is leading to the planet going to explode. And he dies for his sins, I guess.
Yep.
I guess that's how that goes. But no, so no, but yeah, I think for me, just the actual stuff between the main cast, it's particularly Kirk's motivation, Kirk's determination, is the real heart of the movie, and the fact that Spock's death seems to have affected everyone, and then the sweeter ending when they do get him back is quite nice. Even if I would admit that just having him not come back would have more impact.
Yeah.
It's still handled fairly well in terms of the emotion of it. The plot explanation for how it happens is just kind of like, eh.
Yeah. It's why I started this by saying I was frustrated by them, because all that side of things, if you cut out all this other stuff around it and do that, this could be my favorite of the three quite easily. I could love this movie. But there's just too much of this other baggage weighing it down.
Yeah, no, it's my least favorite of the three as well so far, but it's better than I remembered it being.
No, fair enough.
I legitimately would still kind of say, I still kind of liked it overall. I still liked it overall. So, yeah, it's positive. You're just a miserable shit. So,
I can't argue with that.
you're a miserable shit, and that's just the way it is. So, yeah, anything else you want to add before we rate it?
No, I think we spoke about everything I can think of.
All right then. Well, what are you giving it out of 10 then?
I'll give it a 6. I can't go any higher. There's just too many things I didn't enjoy to say it's a good movie.
Okay. So I think I went 8 and 8.5 on the last.
Yeah, I think so. Sounds about right.
I think I did. Or did I go 8.5 twice? I can't remember. But regardless, I think I'm going to go with a 7 for this one. I like it more than you do. I think, as much as I agree with the criticisms, and I agree that the actual young Spock growing up in the Klingons are superfluous.
Just didn't bother you quite as much.
It just didn't. Yeah, it didn't bother. At least not this time. Maybe it did the first time, but this time, and I think as I felt this way with the last two movies as well. The effect of having watched the whole show and then doing this means that the themes that the characters are going through are hitting me much harder this time, and this, like, Kirk's determination to do this for Spock really was pulling the heartstrings a little bit, and I think it was doing that because I've spent all this time with him. It's been this journey, the continuing mission, yada yada yada, and because of that, it really worked, and that kind of lifted up for me, and so much of the eldest stuff is them, being mischievous and stealing the ship and running away and everything else. And I kind of like that the ship is still damaged from last time. I like that it's, it's like, oh, we can't, sorry, I never thought we'd be in combat. Like, I didn't prepare it for this.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
So I will say, actually, I was just kind of dawned to me that by the end, we never really get a resolution to them stealing the ship, and just, yeah, it's just kind of like, okay, we're done now.
Yes, I don't have a problem with that because I'm fairly certain that that's just something that's brought up next time.
That's fair. It just feels weird to just end like that without addressing it at all. But I mean, fine.
Well, because here's the thing. The 2, 3, and 4 are very much a trilogy, and they all kind of follow on right after one another. Because I'm pretty sure the next one starts with them on their way back to Earth. Like, it's
Right, okay.
right away. That's where we're picking up from. So we get to that. We never actually talked about the ship being self-destructed. Kirk's plan. They're being boarded by Klingons, and basically he gets Scotty and Chekhov, who have got the little access codes to get it to self-destruct. So it's a nice moment. I mean, it's one of those things where when they do it now in a movie, we've seen it so many times, it's not a big deal when the Enterprise gets destroyed. But I actually really like the scene in this one where they're on the planet already and they're watching it go down like a shooting star, and like Kirk's like questioning, "What have I done? My baby, my ship, my Enterprise. What have I done?"
I think that's why we didn't really even think to mention it, is because we've seen it so much.
We have, but to be fair, I think this was the first time. If I remember correctly, a story from this is that Leonard Nimoy actually tried to fight the studio or the marketers to not put it in the trailer, and he lost. They put it in the trailer against his wishes, but he did not want it in the trailer that the Enterprise got destroyed. He was like, no, that's a spoiler. Don't do that. They didn't use spoiler as a word back then in this context, but
No, I get you.
But that was his thing. He was adamant as the director of this movie. He did not want that in the trailer, and he said, "No, this will sell tickets," and they put it in the trailer.
Probably did as well.
It probably did, which is the sad part. But they should listen to him.
They should have. One other thing that really bothered me with the Savick and David stuff is
here we go. I love all these points we're bringing up after we did the ratings.
because I'm remembering them.
Go for it.
So their ship that gets destroyed by the Klingons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're clear like, oh, our ship's been, it's been destroyed. And then they don't seem at all concerned that they're not going to get out of there. They're like, hang on, we're stuck on this planet.
Yeah, okay. No, it's something that I was thinking about as well, is that it's like, okay, you're going to find Spock's body or soul or whatever, but you're kind of still stuck in this planet that you know is going to blow up.
They don't seem very worried that, hang on, that how are they getting off?
I guess maybe Kirk was already planning on stealing their ship.
Yeah, but do they know that?
Does who know that?
David and Savick, do they know that Kirk's on his way?
Well, hon, who's worried?
No, David and Savick, they're not worried, is what I'm saying. when their ship, the Grisham, whatever, is destroyed by the
okay,
Klingons.
I thought you meant our main characters. Okay.
No. David and Savick, when their ship's destroyed by the Klingons, they're on the comms with them, right? And the Klingons come in and destroy them, and they're like, oh, and they're like, well,
oh
what
yeah,
I
get you.
They're like,
yeah,
I think the ship got destroyed. They never once show any concern of how they're going to get off the planet, which they know is going to blow up in a few hours. They never even address the fact that they're stuck there.
Yeah, they just kind of go into on the run mode because they know whoever did it is coming for them. Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I guess in a weird way, I'd say I'm thankful because it meant we spent less time with them.
Yeah, I get that. It's a really glaring oversight not to have as a moment.
I guess it was just we'll worry about that later because that's why I think it works with Kirk and Co. Is not only might he already have the plan to try and steal the Klingon ship, I feel like all too often he puts them in a position where it seems like, oh, we'd be doomed, but we're probably going to get our way out of this somehow.
No, I'm okay with them because they went in with a plan. They chose to self-destruct the ship, so they kind of had that knowledge. They don't need to be going, oh, what are we going to do now? Whereas David and Savick, they were just on the planet and their ship, the thing that was going to pick them back up is just gone.
They didn't know that. I don't think they knew that it was going to blow up when the ship first went. I think that was something he realised later.
Yeah. But he made the call, was the point.
Yeah, I would imagine that before that he would, or they would just be like, okay, well they know we're out here, Starfleet. If we just hide that long enough, thinking the planet's going to be around, we'll
maybe
we'll make do. Rescue will come. Once they realise the planet's going to blow up, I guess, like, I'd have to go back to the scene and watch the acting, because it's the sort of thing where maybe just their reaction to it could be enough to tell you, oh, they know they're screwed.
It didn't feel like it when I watched it.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm just that would work though if it was just they look like they know they're going to die and that's it.
Yeah.
But that's fair. Like, I can't argue with that.
I don't think I've got anything else now. I think I'm actually
good.
done.
Okay, good. But yeah, so there you go. Surfer Spock. Definitely has its issues, but I think there's enough in here to still be quite positive on it. But next time we have Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. And like I said, it starts with them coming home. I mean, it's called The Voyage Home. I mean, it's kind of...
Closing the name.
Yeah. But 2, 3, 4 are very much a trilogy. They all follow on one from another. Actually, that's one of the things I love about this as well. I feel like so many movies, especially ones that are set like around characters who have outfits or uniforms or costumes, is they always feel the need to redesign everything in between movies. Even 1 to 2, we went from those grey outfits to these red outfits. I love that this movie starts and everyone's still wearing the red outfits with the collars. But not only that, Kirk's even got it unfastened like he did at the end of the last one. It's like it's straight on. We just go. It's one of the things I love about Dark Knight is that it starts off with the Batman Begins outfit, even though he changes.
Yes.
After a couple of scenes, he's like, get me a new suit. I want a sleeker suit. And it's in the movie that he wants a new one, and I'm like, yes, because normally they just change it and it's just like whatever.
Just don't address it. It just happened. Yeah.
It just happened. Yeah. So I like that, especially since a uniform like this shouldn't be changing that frequently.
It shouldn't. No.
So I'm glad that they kept it the same, and I think it stays the same for a while. That's it. It was kind of fun having them on the bridge, like all in their civvies, because when they steal the ship, he's just in a leather jacket. He's not.
Yeah.
It really feels like the ragtag version or the ragtag Star Trek movie. That said, next one they're all in civvies as well, because the next one's the time travel one where they're back in present day.
Oh, cool.
Obviously of the time, which was 1986, I believe, if I remember right. So you've got them in, I think, San Francisco, and you've got Chekhov going around asking for nuclear vessels. So we can look forward to that.
Is this the one with the whales?
This is the one with the whales.
Finally. We're
getting to the whales. After 3 seasons.
I have been waiting for this for about a year.
In 4 movies, we're getting to the whales movie. Not that it's set in Wales, because that'd be a weird Star Trek movie.
Oh, that would be weird. Why would you want to do that? Oh, God, can you imagine that accent just all throughout a Star Trek movie?
I almost wanted just so Spock can turn around to Kirk and go, this voice is illogical.
I can just see him like, humans are stupider than I thought, just after hearing them.
So that's next time. So look forward to that. But this has been Star Trek 3 Search for Spock. Let us know what you thought of the movie in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mail_fuzz. But most importantly, go over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv if you want to support the channel and the show and everything we do here. You get these Star Trek discussions a week early, amongst other things, so go have a look and see if you fancy anything. It's also worth going over there just to see the list of all the shows and all the different audio feeds, all the different links to all the YouTube playlists, just a handy list of all the content. But go have a look, but otherwise that is us, so thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching. Oh, see, this is all, because this is already cancelled, I want to say keep watching TV, because it is already cancelled still,
but
because we're doing Star Trek.
It's not really accurate, is it?
Hey, live long and prosper.
Do you not always just keep watching Star Trek? Something like that.
I think I do, actually. You're right. Just keep watching, which still apply. You know what? Live long and prosper. The needs of me outweigh the needs of Connor.
I have been telling you to use that as an outro for 8 months, and you've been going, no, it's too obvious. And now you're finally going to... Oh, God, you're a dick. Pretend you just yeah, go on then.
Funnily enough, Tim convinced me on the Screams TV episodes to end it with the quote from Nightmare on Elm Street 3, where he says, "Welcome to prime time, bitch." So that's what I do now at the end of the Screams TV episodes, which is good. That's good. It's TV related. I like it. But yeah, so yes. So thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Star Trek. And live long. And prosper. See, it doesn't fit. It's weird.